Hey guys, hope you all are doing great. And this is Hetu. Welcome back to ETL Labs. So today's topic is very important, and I would say that this topic I have never touched in the entire YouTube, right? In my YouTube even, and I guarantee you that you will not get this content anywhere else also, right? So that's the reason it is very important, and why it is making so special because this question is almost asked in any of the ETL testing automation role. If you're going for test automation in ETL testing, they are going to ask this question, right? So irrespective of the experience level 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 15, right? Whatever experience level you are going, they are going to ask this question, right? So that's the reason I'm going to actually cover this question. And then the question is ETL test automation framework architecture. Okay. So I'll tell you and how do we basically answer this step by step, guys. Okay. And let me just write the question first here, and then we can actually try to attempt it. And I bet you if you understand this question, I think one question is through. And the way I explain you here, if you are going to follow the same way how I explain it, 100% interview is going to impressed. Okay, so let's try to write the question first. The question can be something like this: explain your automation framework. Okay, very simple question. Like if you say that you have worked on automation, they will ask you explain your test automation framework basically. Okay, very simple answer. Or they will ask you also what are the different component. I mean, this same question can be asked also, like what are the different components, right, in your project. All right, obviously automation, right? Same question, one, two. Third question they can ask, explain tools that you have used in your project, right? Project means whenever they are talking about project, they are talking about the test automation project that you have done, right? Your test framework basically. It's not the ETL project basically, right? So they want to ask whenever they are saying that project, which means actually they are talking about your test automation, okay? Test automation framework. All right. So this question can be in any of this form. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to explain you everything about it, right? So then whatever is asked, you should be able to explain it. All right. That's why I'm saying this is very important question. Okay, pay attention, try to understand everything, watch it, make a note, right? And again and again and practice this question. Okay, because this is one of the question which I would say that if you answer it well, then that will justify that you hold a very good knowledge of the test automation framework, right? And this will actually shift you completely from to the core of test automation basically. So it will shape up your image as well, right? And then this very question will also determine the rest of the interview basically. Okay, so if you're really going for good product based companies and all, I think definitely this question and the way I am explaining, please explain in the same way, and I guarantee you that you should be able to crack it. Okay, all right, so let's try to understand, guys. First of all, we are talking about ETL tool. So let's try to understand everything about it. All these questions which are there, we will try to understand one of them, right? One each by one, each, right? So first of all, I'll talk about the tools and techniques that we are going to use, right? All right. First thing. So in our ETL framework, we are actually using multiple tools. So you can say we are using pandas, okay, to read, write data, all right, from different places. Second, you say PyTest. PyTest is used for my unit testing, or you can say this is unit testing framework, but you can say this is used for my test execution. Okay, used for my test execution. All right. Then you say that we are using logger, okay, to create application log, execution log, right? So that you can basically track what went wrong, what is our error logging, etc. You can say, all right. Now, um, what else do we use? We also use pip. Why pip? Because this is basically, you can say, this is my what you say, build management, okay, build and dependency management tool, okay. All right, guys. Then what else you can say? You can also say that you are kind of yeah, these are the tools. And okay, what else we can do? Yeah, you can also say that, okay, you can also say that the version control is basically git, right? So you can say git for my version and source code management, okay. All right. Then you can also say that we are using Jenkins, right? Jenkins for CI CD, okay, CI CD pipeline and integration. All right, everything. So these are the key tools that we are going to use, you can say, right, in the tooling part. Now let's try to answer the second question. Basically, second question: what are the different component that we have in your project? Yeah, very similar to what is the test automation, or explain your test automation framework. So what you can do, you can basically draw some picture or some diagram. Basically, let me try to show you, and where exactly each of them basically fits, let's try to pay attention here, guys. Okay, so what we will say that we have the the source code management. We are actually using the pip. You can say we are using pip here. All right, because we have any modules that we need to actually install, or we want to have any dependency on anything, we actually use the pip. All right, so pip. And then this is our entry point, basically, you can say, in the test automation framework, because without having the different libraries and all, we cannot do anything. So we need the pip basically to actually install all the required libraries for us. All right, now second, what we do, we basically have the after pip, right? So we basically have the PyTest here. Let me write it. This is my PyTest, which basically effectively manage the entire test automation suite, basically. Okay, so this is, as I said, it is my unit testing framework. For us, it is working as a test automation framework, basically. Okay, so we are going to use the PyTest. Now you can also say that this PyTest will be having something like this. Let's try to, okay, let's try to make some boxes here. Basically, what I'm going to do, we are having couple of test files, basically. Okay, so we are having, let's say, I will make, you can write as many as, but I'll write 3 4 basically. Okay, let's try to write it basically. So I'll say that we have all right, these are basically test scripts. Okay, these are basically test scripts. We are actually going to write the test cases inside this file. So for example, if I need to write some specific test cases, okay, for example, I need to write some test cases um, for data extraction. All right, data extraction, okay, test cases. I can create a file, and I can actually embed all the test cases inside here, all test cases. Okay, similarly, let's say I am going to write something, data transformation test cases, right? Simple. It can be anything, basically. Okay, based on the module also I can divide. You see that how basically best it is fitting for yourself, right? Or maybe you can write data quality test cases. I'm just giving an example so that you can correlate it very well. Okay, now these are basically different files, and within this file, let's say, a lot of test cases are there, basically. Okay, test cases, all test cases, all the unit test cases, right? sorry, all the pi test cases basically will be here. So this basically is actually the actual test cases which are there inside the test scripts. All right. Now what will happen is this test scripts will not run alone. Now there are several components that we have to basically connect to it. Okay. So the first component that I will talk about is basically the fixture. Okay. So this is one of the component. Let me write into this way. I'll talk about the fixtures. Okay. So this is my fixture component basically. And this fixture component is what? Basically, it is a PyTest standard itself, right? And what it allows, for example, there are a couple of things that we can actually put inside the fixture, okay? And what are those fixture? Let's say few things that we want to actually run before our test, right? So before test and after test. Let me give you example. Let's say if I need to have the connectivity with the database, right? So I can actually write a fixture that can actually run before my actual test case actually executed, right? So for example, DB connection, okay? And once the test is completed, I would like to basically tear off this connection, right? So DB connection and close DB connection, okay? DB connection. This kind of things, whatever we need to do, we can actually write inside a fixture, okay? So that before my test cases run, we can actually just open once and then close after every test is completed. So this actually are called the fixture component, okay? This is very, very important part, okay? Because think about it, let's say you are actually running data extraction, right? And you are actually fetching the data from different sources, right? For example, you are having Postgres, or you have Teradata or IBM DB2, right? There are four different databases from where you are actually pulling the data. What you would like to do? You would like to basically, before my test cases run, like before my test cases connect to database, I would like to make my connections ready, right? So that my testing, this test script will not take time basically, right? So it is one time activity that we need to have it, okay? So this can be something like this, guys. Let me just make it. This is basically the fixture. This is the first component. Second component, let's write some few things which are basically reusable, right? So in case of reusable, so I can just tell you, we have to write one more component which is called utilities component, right? Utilities. And what are these utilities component, guys? These are basically some of the common methods, right? I would say some of the common functionality that we have to use across the test cases, common functions, I would say. If I can give example, I can say that the common function could be compare um, data between file and database, right? Or maybe between database to database, maybe two databases, isn't it? So this could be the common function that can be used across everywhere, right? So if I can just do it something like this, so this is my common utility. Okay, now guys, I'm just not going to just make it everywhere, but you assume that everybody is going to use all the different functions are going to use. So this also is going to use this, okay? Similarly, this is also going to use this particular component, okay? This is how it is. Now what are the other component, right? There could be the configuration, isn't it? Config is also one of the important thing, because we might need to actually save some of the data in the config. For example, database connection, user ID, host name, port name, or maybe the Linux database server, etc. Whatever you need to do, right? Or maybe AWS required things, right? So we need to have one configuration here. So we can say here we need to have the configuration file. Okay, this will connect, keep all the configurable data. Okay, that can be changed, subject to change, right? changeable data, changeable um, data. Okay, all those things we are going to keep it. Now this can also be actually coming from various places, so we can actually, these all the components will be using all of this. So these are basically, you can see all the test scripts that we are going to write. For example, here everything is basically going to use this configuration file as well, right? Now let's go to one more thing, guys, and that is huh, I think, yeah, one more thing I forgot. I think one more thing that we need to basically talk about is basically logging mechanism, right? That is called logger, right? That's what we have not written anywhere, right? Logger. Yes, we have not written, I think, logger. And this logger is also actually extended to all the test scripts basically. Within that test script, there will be multiple test cases, right? So this is basically used for what? This is for execution log of test cases. How your test cases are getting executed, where it is failing, etc. We can actually log into this particular file basically, logger file basically, I would say. Okay, this is what. And one more aspect, right? So on top of it, right, we actually would like to generate a report that can actually give the total test cases details basically, right? So for that, we actually, on top of everything, we need a final thing that is basically the reports. All right, in some web format, right, where we can basically generate all this report and we can actually send it to other stakeholders, key stakeholder. This is the key things, right? Reporting basically. So this is also one of the component. Guys, these are the main component. Now this is not just only component that we can have so many other component as well. But if you are able to explain all of these components, I think this is very good impression to the interviewer, because they understand that you actually understand holistic view of a particular framework, right? And why do we need the test automation framework, right? So these are different components and everything making together becoming the automation framework. Okay, now let's try to understand one more thing on top of this, right? Let's say this is my framework that is done. Okay, and everything whatever is there, everything should be actually now this is done. Okay, for example, everything, all this code base should be basically kept where? It should be kept on some uh, version control place, right? So for the version control, you can use any tool, but Git is the something that we actually always use it. So Git is there on top of everywhere. Okay, this is actually Git. I would say we can actually wrap it everything, and Git can be here basically. I can show you here. So this is your Git. Okay, Git. All right. Now one more thing, you can go one level above, right? So this git, right, now there this git can actually be scheduled by some CI/CD tool. That's where the Jenkins also comes into play basically. So I can say Jenkins. Okay, Jenkins, and this is my CI/CD tool, and this will actually help you to do the continuous pipelining or continuous integration and continuous deployment basically. Okay, so this is the whole part of basically the test automation framework, and this is how basically you have to explain it, right? And you should be able to show these connections, like where exactly all these are integrated, right? And you should be able to explain basically all these different things. Yeah, and yeah, I think this is what basically is needed. Yeah, so make sure that you basically have this picture, and then once you go for the interview, you actually explain each and everything, right? And then I think half of your job is done basically. Then they will obviously go to the technical questions basically. They will actually ask you what is PyTest, what is pip, what is the fixture, how do we actually set up the fixture, common utilities, what are different, and how do you write it? Everything that is basically subjective. But then first question you are able to clear, because once you are able to actually explain this framework. Okay, so hopefully this video will be life changing actually for so many people, right? because this kind of if you go and find it out, you will not find this kind of actually explanation how your entire test automation framework is set up basically. Okay, so yeah, I think this is a very good architecture of a particular ETL testing automation framework. Yeah, and one more thing, right? So we can use different patterns also, design patterns, right? So you can say that they can also ask you, right? So what is your design pattern that you have used, right? So design pattern, you can always say that it is basically modular design pattern. Okay, modular design pattern. And also you can say it is not only modular, you can also say that this is also a factory design. Okay, factory design, because we are going to use that factory design. And also we can say that it is also supporting some data driven framework approach, data driven as well. Okay, because we are going to use a lot of data. Okay, one more thing I forgot basically. Okay, that is with this actually coming. Okay, one more thing, last thing, because see, everything that we are actually doing here, test script and everything, it needs some expected data, right? So everything, all of this basically will also need data. So let me write it. We should also have one component called test data, guys. Okay, test data, and all the expected data should be coming from here. Okay, so if I can just pull it something like this, so this will again go back to script, something like this. It is very clumsy, but yeah, I think you got it. Yeah, so yeah, test data is also one of the things, because this is very key aspects as well, key component of the framework actually. Okay, so yes, I think this is the framework. Okay, and if you do well, I think lot of chances then you will actually move to the second round or whatever round it is. Yeah. So yeah, that's all I think for this video. I'll see you soon with the next video. Until then, happy learning. God bless you. Bye.